Go ahead and start talking about Captain, what's his name?
Ernest King. Anyway, I told him I needed to go back below the line of departure about 200 meters so I could use the terrain to cross the Delta Corridor so I would not have my tanks exposed. I started heading back. He gets on the radio. Where are you going? Head, you know, have your elephants head north. Can't call it a vehicle. Got to say it's an elephant. Oh, go ahead. Why don't you just tell the Russians what model tank we got? I mean, just complete idiot. So I do what he's ordered me to do. And I get up there. We hadn't gone 1,000 meters, and they call and said, "You're dead." Well, no kidding. I mean, these guys. He's a Vietnam vet, and they got their map folded up in about 4 grid squares. Grid squares 1,000 meters. Well, people can shoot Stagger missiles from 3,000 meters away. See, we got to think a little bit further out. The guy is just, like I said, he can't read a map. I don't know if his XO told it. He turned over when we were in Sardinia and asked the Lance Corporal, his radio operator, says, what's the company doing? He's like, you're the captain? I don't know. I'm just a radio operator. He has no idea what people are talking about. He doesn't understand the tactics. But I mean, just...
So what happened at this crossing with these Amtraks and stuff?
I mean, when it sank?
Yeah, what happened?
All right. They had an Amtrak that shouldn't have splashed at all with troops in it. It was being towed. And the plenum vent opened up and it filled up full of water. It's like opening a hood on something, but it's on top. And they had the thing held in place with a 2x4 and vice grips. Platoon sergeant did not. I don't know that he informed Lieutenant Les Harrell, who was the Amtrak platoon commander. Les wanted. It was so rough when we got back to the beach from training inland. We were maybe 25 miles inland in a Army training base that the Italians used. And we're late getting back to the beach. Carbon area was the state police, and they were late. And guy's looking over his shoulder with the Amtrak behind him and ran in the back of a stopped Mercedes bus with his Moto Guzzi motorcycle. He didn't get hurt bad, but anyway, time we get back, it's getting stormy. Les wanted to have the troops go back on the LCU, the Landing Craft Utility. And King says, they came out on Amtraks, they're going back on Amtraks. They do 11-foot plunge and surf. Yeah, in combat, landed, but not swimming back. It was too rough for the captain's launch to be the safety boat. So they're using the LCU for a safety boat. Well, yeah, I mean, it'll be okay, but it's too rough for troops on Amtraks. Some of them didn't have CO2 cartridges in their life preservers that they had. Many guys had their flak jackets zipped up. And when that thing sank, it nosedived fast. I mean, when you got this, 5 by 5 foot hole, maybe a little bit bigger than that, opens up, it fills up with water really, really quick. And this 26-ton tractor sank fast. And guys are trying to pop the hatches and get out the top, trying to get out the back of it. There's a small oblong hatch in the back of it, and I don't know what all they were doing to try to get out of the thing. And 3 of them drowned. And then during recovery operations, there was a Navy corpsman from the Logistics Support Unit, the LSU, was up on the ramp of the LCU trying to help guys get in off their Amtraks onto the LCU. And in retrospect, they should have dropped the ramp down and made a sea anchor out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they didn't. and they had it out horizontal, and the Amtrak went up under this 15-ton ramp with a corpsman on top of the Amtrak trying to pull guys out and squish him like a bug. And I saw that Amtrak the next morning. I could monitor the company net that India Company was on. And it was really hard to pick up exactly what in the world was going on. Because a lot of the stuff was, I wasn't monitoring the Amtrak platoon net, just the company net.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure all what was happening. I don't know who told me that we weren't going back. And we didn't get to go back to the ship until everybody else had backloaded, because you the first off, you the last one on. So three of my tanks were being on the LCU, and two of them were on separate Mike 8 landing craft. It just held a single tank. And so anyway, I found out that Les Harold and Captain King had a fist fight about the troops going back in the Amtraks, and King beat Les.
Les is lieutenant?
Yeah, Les Harold was the first lieutenant. And Les lost the fight. So, you know, like I said, he's telling them it's too rough for him to go back.
Yeah.
And it was King's decision that got 4 people killed.
So this guy you wrote a statement for, he was on the Amtrak that sank?
He was a Lance Corporal on the Amtrak that sank.
But he got out.
No, he stayed in and retired as a gunnery sergeant.
No, I'm saying he got out of
He got out. He lived.
Amtrak.
He lived through it.
So did the hatches? Some of the hatches opened, but the ones in the guys in the bottom or something, they couldn't get out.
Well, if you got guys that got a life preserver that don't work because it's inflatable and nothing's inflating, and you got your life jacket zipped up.
Some of them, they're all probably got out of the Amtrak, but they sank anyways.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Now, we had the only Navy divers with the whole. We had a SEAL team and a UDT team on our ship.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a second-class petty officer that told me that he found the first guy. It was a black guy, and he said he was gray. And he saw his face about a foot from his face mask. It was real murky because it just been real stormy.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to stay on the beach in case they needed my tank platoon to pull the Amtrak out of the surf to recover it. When they finally found the Amtrak, I think they may have found one of the guys first.
Yeah.
But when they found the Amtrak, they used fuel bladders and pumped air down there and got it up, and then used a winch on a bulldozer from the combat engineers to pull it into the shore. And then they eventually winched it up on the LCU and then pulled it back up on the LST that it was off on.
Mm-hmm.
But
so this captain, did he get discharged after that, or
no,
what?
he got promoted to major, and that really pissed me off. I mean, just you know, we had a Marine colonel come in and investigate the Navy, and they had a Navy captain investigate the Marines, and then Lieutenant Colonel John Reynolds as a battalion DLT commander, you know, he had stars in his future, and it didn't hurt his promotion whatsoever. And I worked for Reynolds when he was a colonel as a G1, and then he came and testified at my medical board when he was a 2-star general.
You know if this Marine that you wrote a statement for, do you know if you keep in contact with him?
Yeah, he's Polish, Wisłanowski, if I can pronounce it right or something.
Was he able to?
Timothy's his first name.
Was he able to get his claim done?
I think he may have. I'm just not sure, but he lives in Florida.
Gotcha.
And you know, the little thing I put out a few years ago with the Marines shooting a bunch of guns and stuff for the 4th of July. You know, he liked that. So does other people that like guns and stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, he may have got his 100%. He should have. I mean, but some of the stuff, that the way he wrote stuff up just wasn't as probably as thorough as it needed to be in some
So
cases.
the investigation they had, they said that they didn't
Well,
lay any blame on
we
anybody.
ended up with, you know, everybody wearing good life jackets and all. We had a bunch of orange ones show up
Yeah,
for having better, safety stuff.
right. But they didn't find command at fault from any of this stuff.
Not to my knowledge that there wasn't anything on that. Now, whether I think Harold may have got a less Harold for having an Amtrak splash that shouldn't have been splashing, may have gotten a fitness report hit or something. I don't know.
The guy who tried to prevent the whole incident from happening might have gotten in
Yeah,
trouble. Yeah. Okay.
because I think his platoon sergeant knew about the thing that was messed up, and I don't know that he got the full scoop on it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the fitness report I got from Colonel Reynolds was would actively seek my services in time of war. Well, that's a pretty good, you know, statement when somebody's saying that, particularly somebody that of his reputation. I mean, he's the only Rhodes Scholar we had in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
He's been a White House Fellow, got 2 master's degrees, just deep selected for colonel. He's just a super smart guy. Heinz MacArthur was a Naval Academy grad, went to tank school with me. Heinz said he worked with Reynolds maybe 3 or 4 days for a TAC test as umpires or controllers, and he ran into him 6 months later and he called him by his first name. Not a lot of lieutenant colonels would remember a first lieutenant's first name who worked with him in the field, had a few meetings together, and they're basically never met each other before that, and then remembered a guy's name. You know, Reynolds told the medical board stuff I did on a job that I even forgot about.
So this incident was like 79, 80?
April 79, we're on the west coast of Italy.
Okay.
Monte Romano was a reserve training base the Italians used. It's absolutely gorgeous. Some of the ruins there were from the Adrians, which was a pre-Roman culture.
Yeah.
My guys, we made some coffee and they got the water out of a creek. Then I found out about 100 meters upstream was a dead cow in the creek. But
yeah,
Oliver North was the operations officer, S3, and he wanted to have shoot at my tanks with subcaliber laws. And I told him, said, they're $500,000 a piece. You want to sign for them? Because if it penetrates that air cleaner box, the tank's down. Because the air cleaner boxes were not armored. They were armored on the M48, but for some stupid reason, they made them out of aluminum.
Why did he want to shoot at the tanks?
Just training for the grunts.
But
if you turn around and hit my optics, guys are shooting from all ways, and you happen to, you hit this subcaliber law in my telescope or my rangefinder, and you break the glass in it. That's fifth echelon.
Yeah.
You can fix that at Albany, Georgia, but you ain't fixing it on a mid float.
Yeah.
I mean, they decided to have Amtrak pull a pallet with a target on it. Okay, long rope, just shoot at stuff on a pallet. That's fine. But we had a target tank, an M48 target tank that grunts would get to shoot at. But this is not something that you're going to take into combat that you're out there in the Landing Force 6th Fleet. I'm the only tanks that the Landing Force 6th Fleet's got with a whole 5 tanks.
Yeah.
I mean, we got a battalion landing team that's got attached 6 artillery pieces, 105 millimeter howitzers. You got a captain with a battery commander. You got an Amtrak platoon that's reinforced with it. it's got the communications Amtrak that the battalion uses for headquarters. So I think they had 14 Amtraks total. You've got an engineer platoon, combat engineer platoon. You got a reconnaissance platoon. You got a tank platoon, and that's it. And other than what's in a table of organization for an infantry battalion. So now the amphibious squadron out there has got logistically there's extra stuff that they've got in there with CBs and stuff. I didn't see the CBs until we got to the last operation in Turkey. Now I don't know if they came on the beach or not, but the lieutenant with the CBs, they had helped my heavy section up at Little Creek the summer before, and they built a sling so we could pull the engine out and change the turbocharger. So the sling takes the armor plate off the back that covers the engine transmission pack, and then when you unhook the hoses and stuff, you can pick up the whole engine transmission and set it on the ground and work on it, or swap it out with another one.
Yeah.
And so as a thank you to them helping us, I bought 2 cases of beer, and the troops with the 3 tanks is up there chipped in for another case of beer, and I gave them 3 cases of beer as a thank you. And then this Navy lieutenant said, "You think you guys would like some steak?" "Yes, sir. Have them come on over." So while the rest of the grunts are eating hot dogs and hamburgers, my guys are having steak, thanks to the CBs. Now, when we were up at Little Creek, Howard Shores was the 6'8" captain that I helped get in the swimming pool that wasn't working in the swimming pool, because that's how I got 10% for bursitis in my left elbow. Took the crystal off my watch, and the lieutenant's going to put him in the swimming pool. We got him in the swimming pool. I had him up against a chain link fence, and he kneed me in the groin. And my sergeant instructor, or former sergeant instructor from 3 years before, when he was a staff sergeant, Gunny Riley, was the company gunny, and left teeth marks in my back. Like I said, I took the crystal off my watch, getting him in there with the rest of the lieutenants. Like, we won, but it didn't feel like winning, because it sure hurt. You know.
Yeah, you're what, 5'9", 5'10"?
I'm 5'10", but like I said, Shores was 6'8", and we got several lieutenants of his lieutenants along with me trying to get him in a swimming pool, and it wasn't an easy task. But he was really good. I just wish he'd had him the whole rest of the time. But Shores, I think, commanded 15 different companies. I mean, he was company commander when he was second lieutenant, because everybody else was dead. And he went from being the S4 to having Captain Chuck Dragon Armstrong's company after a couple of guys had gone turn over some little cars. And he's out there, and Colonel Reynolds heard him, said, "We're Marines, we're going to turn over cars. Let's go turn over some buses." Well, all of a sudden, company commander, you now the S4, and S4, you now got this company. Now, I don't think he gave him a bad fitness report. He couldn't let it stand and do that.
Yeah.
But, you know, guys are doing all kinds of different things. But Shores wanted me to drag some pallets around to smooth out this area of sand. But we got midshipmen coming in every week, and that's what we had a weekly.
Wait, where is this at?
It's Little Creek. Summer training for the midshipmen come up there, and they can get to see some tanks, and they get to see some Marines do their thing. And they got like a week there, and they go to Corpus Christi, and they go do something else, and go look at some aviation stuff. And so they're learning a little bit about amphibious stuff. I don't know if they actually went on ship and did amphibious landing or not. I don't remember that, what they were doing that there. But Anyway, Shores wanted us to drag some pallets around to smooth the sand out. Said, CBs will come over here with a motor grader to smooth that stuff out for you. They push dirt all day long for training. They dig a hole and fill it up. They'd be happy to come over here and smooth it out. He had the guys out there with entrenching tools smoothing out the dirt. And I'm just like, these people don't understand diesel powered equipment. When we had our tack test, we landed on the beach at Lejeune. Got across the Intercoastal Waterway. We did that on pontoon bridge, basically. And Captain King wanted to keep his 60 millimeter mortars on the beach side of the Intercoastal Waterway to support us. And that's just a hot water heater. Goes through a little heat cycle every so often. We got 5 tanks with each got 2 machine guns and 5 cannons, and the Amtraks, the regular ones, have got 50 cal machine guns on there. So we got, I don't know, 16 50 cal machine guns, and if we leave one behind, we're gonna have 15, and like those mortars had a range of 1,800 meters. We're gonna outrun them in just a few minutes on the range. And then if we break through some, how they gonna catch up? You know, one Amtrak by itself. If we bust through something, making everybody put their head down because we're shooting machine guns at them left and right, you know, like, that's stupid. I mean, it's just doesn't, you know, I mean, Oliver North put in one of the operations orders in the Med that the primary means of communication between the tanks and the entry be the tank entry telephone. Well, he got books that say that. They're 8-year-old books. They had this Ward's October 73 in the Middle East. It changed a lot of stuff. U.S. Army had revamped their tactics because of the anti-tank guided missiles that the Israelis outran their artillery and got their butt handed to them for a portion there because nobody's making the guys with the Sagger missiles keep their heads down.
Sounds like there's some sketchy stuff going on in this Mediterranean exercise. And some very, very famous people making some questionable decisions.
Well, I'd say Reynolds wasn't involved in a decision on the thing.
Right.
You know, at all.
Oliver North wants to shoot
law
rockets at a
I mean,
$500,000.
He was a little weird, but he was a spook when he was a lieutenant in Vietnam. He's working with the CIA on some stuff, so I understand that. But I mean, he'd do an anti-mech plan and left the tank platoon out of the anti-mech plan. That's stupid. I mean, yeah, you got 8 tow missile launchers with a Marine with a flak jacket and a helmet sitting on the back of a Jeep.
Yeah.
I mean, if nobody's shooting at them with shrapnel, with mortars and artillery and airstrikes, yeah, they can do a pretty good job. But, you know, but they'd farm them out. They had 4 infantry companies in the battalion at that time.
So y'all went through some attack exercise, and what'd y'all do? Sit on the sidelines?
I don't know what he was planning on doing. I think we got, you know, that was just in the, they're doing stuff where they're at far range, max range against armor. Want to shoot the toes at 3,000 meters. It takes like 12 to 15 seconds. I can't remember exactly for the missile to go 3,000 meters. Now the new ones went up to 3,750. But if you turn around and let a Soviet tank unit get within 2,000 meters before you shoot at them with tow missiles, it gets there in like 8 seconds. And they could easily shoot 2 missiles in 30 seconds. So guys that are coming at 20 kilometers an hour in their normal attack speed, you go from 2,000, then they get about 1,800 meters. And when the grunts want to have the, laws that had a max range of 200 meters, they want to count on that. A T-62 can run you over with its tracks in 28 seconds. I don't know if I'd really want to count on that. We ain't talking about shooting you. We're talking about running over you. But if the second tanks, we were looking at like doing an armored ambush. Infantry ambush is real fast and violent. You get the bad guys in a kill zone and you open up with command detonated claymores, hand grenades, machine gun open up. I mean, everybody shoots a whole lot of stuff real fast. So you kill the bad guys in a zone before they can even react. Well, you could do the same thing with a high-speed avenue of approach if you mastered your toes. And a toe platoon has got 24 missile launchers. That's what I deployed to Norway with. So if they all popped off 2 separate tanks in 30 seconds, you just killed 48 tanks. And then you got a tank company with 17 tanks, and they can pop a cat about every 6 seconds. So the toes fired 2 missiles and they moved to another position. The tanks, in 30 seconds, each one can shoot, 5 or 6 tanks. You kill 150 tanks in a minute if you got them all spread out. And I mean, we're talking about, knocking out a division in a minute. The Soviets, you can see in Ukraine, are not real good at adaptive warfare. And you turn around and knock them upside the head like that, but fast and furious before somebody can react. But the grunts would want to turn around when they had 4 companies, give 2 toes to each one. Well, if one of them's going through a swamp, don't worry about it. There ain't nothing coming through there that's going to bother you with that, I mean, yeah, the PT-76 is amphibious. And if it's coming through the Okefenokee and a water moccasin drops in the tank commander's hatch, I think they'll probably abandon that sucker. It's just not something that's going to work too good. I mean, as Master Gunner, John Banner told me, Lieutenant, if it's green, it's wet. And
how long did this Mediterranean deployment? It was like 6 months, 9 months.
Almost 6 months.
You were at Norway for how long?
The operation was like 7 days, and 6 days to backload. I was on the beach 13 days. It rained 12 of them. Yeah. And I took my boots off, put them up under my Mark 110. It's a 4-wheel drive radio set, that's what it is. And thought, I've got a little lean-to made with my shelter half. I managed to put my boot right up under the drain hole on the passenger side. My boot was half full of water. I could have left it out in the rain. It wouldn't have been as wet as it was the next morning. I'm just trying to dry out a little bit. It's just, I was in a field that was green stuff growing, fertilized with sheep manure and downwind of a fox farm.
Fox?
Yeah.
For pelts and stuff?
Yeah. And I understand just a few years later, well, I guess I went back, when you were a year old, I flew in to Oslo, had an embrief at the embassy. We were working with the Norwegians in the Northern Defense Force, and they were like 1,400 miles north of Oslo. And we're 500 miles above the Arctic Circle. So we got briefed in with the embassy, and 7 officers flew commercially up to northern Norway to work with the Norwegians for 5 weeks or something like that. And they were having the Marines attack them. And
You already had equipment there, and you just flew in.
I used Norwegian equipment up there. So when I went looking for
do they
Jerry Insmanger,
do they still have a base there?
Yeah. I'm sure they still got it there. Now they didn't have permanent foreign bases, but the British helicopter pilots are like 11 months out of the year.
Yeah.
I leave just enough to say it's not permanent. But
and this was 80.
This was in other NATO countries that are operating there and doing stuff.
And this was in 87, 88.
Yeah, I went 87, and then some. I guess it was at the NTA meeting in 1990. We're down in Biloxi, Mississippi, and one guy, I guess, who was with one of the Jonas Brothers or something, told me that the fur market in Norway had took a nosedive. And 87, I'd say 1 out of every 3 women I saw in Oslo was wearing fur. That's just my guess. Because I bought Mom a fur hat. She said her mink stole was black. So I got her a black hat. No, it's very dark brown. So that's why it don't match. I mean, Caitlin's got that hat, doesn't she?
I think so.
Yeah. It's warm. It just, I could have got one that would have matched her mink stole a whole lot better if she told me what color it actually was.
So you were had a TOW missile platoon the first time, and the second time you were just went in with a bunch of other Marine officers.
Well, there were 7 of us that went over there to work with them. Now, when I went over with the TOW platoon, it was a Marine Amphibious Brigade.
Yeah.
15,000 Marines. I had the only 2 that missed movement from the ship.
Lucky you.
2 of my guys.
Is that why not?
We were in.
Is that why you didn't make major? No.
When didn't help, but it was me being hard nosed on some of them, I guess. I thought we took care of a request mass thing, and so anyway, these guys had been dragon gunners in infantry units to be a missile man. It's really kind of stupid. It's a totally different weapon system. But they took what was an anti-tank platoon when they had the Ontos that had 6 recoilless rifles on the outside of this thing. It was a slightly armored little track vehicle thing. And turned it into a company. It's supposed to have a major is the company commander, captain is XO, and then having the platoons with lieutenants. Well, they turned around and changed it where basically you've got a first lieutenant has got what would have been a company. It's now called a platoon, and you got staff sergeants with the TOW sections with 8 missiles. And I had 3 different sections deployed at one time. One was in Norway, one was in Vieques, Puerto Rico, and one was in 29 Palms, California.
Wow.
And the commander general and the division sergeant major out in 29 Palms, one of the TOW jeeps got stuck in the sand. They helped push it out. They go down to Puerto Rico and they got run over because there's like 14 people piled up on this one jeep come flying around that corner and almost hit the general and the sergeant major. Well, I'm not there to supervise them. When I go to Norway, the regimental commander tells me TOWs don't know how to be tactical. Well, he gave all of my sections away to 3 infantry battalions, and they went up different fjords, and some of the guys were waiting on gasoline because they didn't top us off before we went on ship. They're basically out of gas and waiting on that. And good-looking Norwegian gals come by, and average Marine's like 19 years old. Well, who do you think they're gonna talk to? Good-looking girls. And putting up a camouflage net sitting on the beach is kind of like got all this equipment rolling in. It's not like you people don't know you're there. They're not out in the field yet. They're still basically in town, coming in on the beach. I mean, we got some photographer with a big camera. Here comes one of my Jeeps coming off of LCU with a flat tire, blah, 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 because couldn't even change the tire. They got them so jammed on together on ship.
15,000?
Well, the one ship I was on, we just got, had my tow platoon on there.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying total.
15,000 Marines.
Total.
There's like 15 ships total that were.
What happened with these two guys?
Well, I happened to, at morning formation, I had the platoon sergeant that was the staff sergeant who was going to get out and go work for the railroad. This is his last deployment because he's fed up with the Marine Corps. And I said, "Where's PFT Johnson?" And I said, "They on leave." What do you mean they're on leave? I told guys you can go on leave, but you got to put in the request for it, which means your section leader, your squad leader, and your section leader got to approve it. The platoon sergeant gets it. The platoon commander approves it. Then it goes to the company office, and they do it. These guys show up and talk to the admin clerk and said, "Lieutenant said we can go on leave." So he types out leave papers for him, and the executive officer signed it with no backup paperwork or anything. So these guys are gone, and they missed the last ferry from England back to France, where our ship was. Got them back about 3 days later. They at least went to one of the Navy ships that was in port there. And, it's just like, oh, man.
So they called this, did y'all know this was happening? Or was this like a quick thing?
I didn't know until the morning I asked where PFC Johnson
No,
was.
I'm saying this whole exercise, y'all knew in advance that it was happening?
Oh, yeah. It was they called it Teamwork 80. And
so were these guys playing stupid? Because
the different, we had like 3 weeks worth of liberty after this operation.
Uh-huh.
And we were, went on leave in Amsterdam. We were in Cherbourg, France, and Cuxhaven, Germany. And,
right. No,
we had about a week in each place.
No, I just think these young Marines probably knew that this operation was happening with so many days. Why would they even bother putting in, leave?
I mean, there was plenty of stuff to do. I guess they just wanted to go to England and see something. But,
right.
I mean, they ran bus USO tour.
Were they already informed that you guys were leaving on a certain day, though?
I don't know. We had 3 sections.
Okay.
One section's on guard.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
So you've got 3 different sections, but only 2 sections can go on liberty on any given time because one section's got to be on the ship.
Yeah.
And
makes sense.
They had bus tours where I went to Paris on a bus tour. You go out in town and you'd see some of your guys that I was at a county fair kind of thing. Had rides and stuff. Saw some of my guys there. But I ain't going on liberty with them. You just run into them.
Yeah.
And then in Amsterdam, there was all kinds of stuff. I went to the National Museum, wore a uniform, and got in free. I mean, we're talking about Rembrandt's and, Blue Boy, the Night Watch. I mean, we're talking about some really, really nice artwork. And then the Dutch masters were making so much money trading. They hired the best furniture makers, pottery guy. I mean, just absolutely gorgeous stuff. There was one wooden table or something, and I may have a picture of it. it was like knights on horses charging across the field, and it was done in wood inlay, and it's in gorgeous woodwork. I mean, these guys had some money, and they didn't mind spending it on the artisans that could produce some really pretty stuff. And I went to the zoo there. Oh, the biggest tiger I've ever seen in my life. That thing looked like it had a head about that big. I mean, I guess it's probably a Siberian tiger or something. But and there was you know, drugs were rampant, and I'm messing with the drug dealers. And the guy said, "Want some hash?" And I walked by. I said, "No thanks. I already ate supper," and kept walking. And the other guy asked me if I want some hash. I said, "Chicken or beef?" "Yes, yes." And he finally figures it out, and
It's still like that.
well, I'm just harassing the drug dealer, and I'm not going to be on recording what I said to him. Well, he said something nasty to me, and I told him, you know,
Yeah.
something I thought was even better.
All right.